Thank you, Mr Chair. After having spoken to the General Manager and had quite a good discussion about community facilities review, etc., with the support from my seconder, I'm going to withdraw Part E.
Okay, thank you. So the amendment now is the same as the motion?
Yep.
So let's...
And sorry, just to be clear, the motion is the recommendation?
The recommendation from management is the agenda, so you're happy to that your amendment be withdrawn? Because it's now the same as the motion?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you
Now let's battle them out.
Can you ask Democracy, are you allowed to withdraw a motion after debate has started?
Yes, I have. Oh, withdraw a motion? No, we're withdrawing part of the motion.
Yeah, well, that's withdrawing a motion, surely.
The motion hasn't been put to vote yet, so it can be withdrawn or amended with the approval of the mover and the seconder of the motion.
Even though we were in debate.
Correct.
It's the same thing, just agree to it.
Well, why wouldn't we go through the process? It's all up there, it's been debated.
Same thing.
Does that enable debate to be reopened or cause debate?
Well, we're agreeing with you.
What's wrong? Isn't that what you wanted?
The amendment and the motion are both the same now.
You're the man.
I'm just checking whether that it causes a re-debate or allows a re-debate under the rules. Just
Shouldn't the chair do that?
Democracy's had a discussion with the chair, and the decision has been made by the chair that...
We'll just leave the amendment up there and we'll all vote for it.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a substantive motion.
I think we have already sufficiently debated this matter, and so therefore I intend that we will now go to vote, and we will vote for the motion. So I'm asking those...
Vote on the motion.
I think
vote on the motion.
Yeah.
On the motion, yeah. So those in favour of the motion...
So we just make sure we've removed,
E is
there's
gone.
no E, so it's the original
E is
staff
the original
recommendation,
recommendation.
getting the extension of the lease until 2022, 2021 and no other action at this point. Thank you.
So those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, the next item is item 14.
Unanimous.
So just can I just ask for a procedural question?
You asking me or Democracy?
Well, I'm asking you to ask Democracy. You get to a point where you're right on the verge of voting on an amendment and a motion, and people who are putting the motion see that they're going to lose or are losing the debate. So then you withdraw. I just don't follow if we followed this process, there'd be pandemonium in here, because you get right through to the last speaker with right of reply, and then they can see that in not this case, but in any case, you can see that you're losing traction. So then you go back and withdraw your original motion, collapse the whole debate, the whole thing, the whole vote, and I just struggle to see how this is good practice.
Democracy, we're following standing orders.
There isn't, Councillor King, through you, Chair, there isn't a specific ruling with regards to altering motions and amendments within standing orders. It has been practice here throughout the time that I've been here that with the agreement of a mover and of a seconder of a motion during debate, that wording can be changed, and if the mover and the second agree, then the motion gets changed. It's somewhat unusual in these circumstances because obviously the change that was made it identical to the amendment that was put.
And the minutes don't reflect what happened in this room today.
I will.
The minutes won't reflect what happened today.
Look, can I just add something, seeing as Councillor King has talked on about winners and losers? I don't think this is about winners and losers. This is about making the best decision that we can for the city and for the council. And I'm sorry that's the way you think about it, Councillor King. We're not here to win or to lose. It's here to make a good decision. That's the way I see it.
Right. All right. let's move on to item 14, which is the Borman Road extension. Welcome, Chris.
I'll move.
Yep, so I'm happy to take the report as read, Mr Chair. Look, this is a straightforward contract decision, second highest quality tender, lowest price within budget, a very good company. The project is on page 114, extension of Borman Road. It's part of our work in the Rotatuna area and connectivity for the school. So it's a critical piece of roading infrastructure to allow the school to grow in the Rotatuna area. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I've got a question first from Councillor Mallett.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Chris. Just on C, Part C of the recommendation, you're asking for the $2.1 million, plus a contingency allowance of $250,000. Why do you bother with a contingency? I mean, why not put it into the cost or you know, it's just pointless to me. You've got a budget that you're going to work to, then you come and say, look, I'm sorry, we've buggered it, or it's great, we've done it under cost. Contingency is just fantasy stuff, isn't it?
No, I don't believe so.
Sorry, Chris, so do you have specific things that could cause the contingency to happen?
Look, there's risk in every contract, so we don't price in everything in risk. And for instance, weather. So we've got a contract that would dictate what happens if the weather is wrong, and we might have to pay extra costs. So there's a whole range of things, and sort of that level of contingency is not unusual in a project like this.
Do you really need the 26 cents?
I think that was to round it up to the approved contract sum of 2.1 million rather than having 199.
Sorry. I guess my point is you guys manage contracts. You've been doing it all your life, and that you know how it works. And things go right or things go wrong. Things go wrong, you explain it to us, and we say, bugger, you know, piss poor effort, Chris, or great effort, Chris. You've got on a da-da. I don't know why you setting a bit aside just in case. Anyway, okay, this is a common practice, I suppose.
It's very common. If I didn't have that contingency allowance, I'd be back here every week to ask for an
But wouldn't you just put it into your contract? Put it into the price?
You can put it into the contract. Our practice is to keep it outside the contract price, and then we control it. So we, as the client, control that contingency.
Councillor McPherson.
Thanks, Chris. Just looking at the map on page 114, it's the scale's not sufficient to be able to tell exactly where the school is. I know there's a mention there of enabling future access to the school, and earlier in the report, but I would have liked to have seen how that all fitted together. I mean, why isn't it going right to the school? Because I understand one of the issues out there at the moment is the school access from the south there.
Correct. So it would have been better to have a bigger scale picture there. But if councillors look at the map in front of you, and you can see Hector Drive shooting up to the north, and just as the picture is disappearing, that's the primary school. So that's the Totra Primary School. So to the left is the new secondary school, and we've built the collector road just in front of the secondary school, and it stops. So the intent of this project is to work in partnership with Kirkdale, and they're going to extend that collector road to that stub you see on
Kimbray.
yeah, correct. Kimbray.
So Kimbray itself will go along the front of the school, divide the school from the park and the residential areas.
Yep, and it will, the timing is such, it will connect to that stub on the right-hand side of your drawing. So,
well, could I ask that when we have this sort of development there, that's our part of it, but let's show the whole jigsaw, not
that's
not
a
just
good point. That would have been better to show the bigger scale one.
what we complained about TGH not doing. We're doing the same.
Yep, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor O'Leary.
I'm not sure I understand the question I'm about to ask myself, so...
The best
I hope I understand the answer.
Look,
Politics 101.
It's on the numbers. I'm on page 112, under point 32, the cost centres. But it's in the context of the deferrals on point 34 and the risk on 36, which is talking about the project involves extensive evacuation, excavation and earthworks, etc. So there's potential for time delays and additional costs. Back up to the cost centre there, those three under 2015-16, those three numbers, I'm assuming are for a part of the bigger budget that's in the LTP, because all of those numbers are only a small amount. So like, for example, the Rototuna stormwater, that 15059, in the LTP we've got that cost centre as 574,000. So I'm assuming it's, you know, you portion it out depending on...
Yep, so the difference you're picking up is programs and projects.
Yeah.
So within the Rototuna stormwork, we've probably got a number of projects that we're trying to do, and this will be the budget that's set
that
aside for this
particular
particular project.
So why then is it going to, given you haven't spent all of the budget, because you don't, I mean, yeah, I guess you guessed as best as you can, you estimate, see, I'm not an engineer, you estimate each project's going to cost this much, so that's the budget that you're going to need. But I guess what I'm saying is we're doing this project now, and we don't know what the exact amount of the future projects is going to look like, but we do have a pot of money in the budget.
Yep.
Why are you saying there is potential for deferrals and there's potential for time delays and additional costs when we actually do have a pot of money?
Yep, so the two issues, the deferral, so what we're saying is that you can see we've got, if you look at 2015-16, there's about $700,000 or $100,000 in this year. So we're saying that we're only just awarding the contract now, so we probably won't spend all of that money, so we'll be asking for a deferral to take it to 16-17. In regard to the risk, that's partly why we have the contingency sum in the approved contract sum we're asking for as well. So that's a big risk for this project. About $600,000 of this project is to do with stormwater and working in the earthworks, but we have a contingency if we have any unforeseen problems. So we would hope very much that that we would pull the job in for the contract price and within the contingency. But it is a big part of this contract risk while we're working in the ground.
I'm not sure I got the answer I was looking for, but I didn't really know what the answer I was looking for was. So,
where are we?
So
I think somewhere in my brain I do understand. It's just when I look back in the LTP, there's these massive amounts of budget this year. I get that there's lots more projects in the Rototuna network and those cost centres that need to be done. I just...
So, look, and that's the challenge of growth, because we are trying to predict, and we predicted those numbers probably something like 2 years ago now. We're trying to predict the timing and pace of the development, and we're trying to pick the cost when we haven't done any investigations of costs. So they are only funding provisions, and there's a lot of science that sits behind those estimates that we make and the guesses we make, but they are only estimates, because we haven't gone out and dug holes to know how deep the road needs to be or what needs to go in. So they are only estimates, and they will change. But generally, we are pretty good at our job and getting that fairly close.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Young.
Thank you, Chair. For this extension is 450 meters long, right? Open up 40 hectares of residential development land. So what about the distance from this part to connect with the other part of Bowman Road? How far away is it?
So we've, in our 10-year plan, that's about year 7. So,
but the distance?
What distance?
Oh, the distance?
Approximately another kilometre to get up to
Another
Downs
kilometre?
Road.
So it wouldn't be better to do it as one rather than chop it in 2 projects?
Yep, so we went through that debate as part of the 10-year plan, and you know, it's trying to keep pace with the development community. It's about connectivity, but it's also about our financial strategy as well, and keeping within our financial strategy limits. So through the collective discussions with council, that was the timing that we determined we could meet all of those requirements.
So it's not really based on what the developer is asking.
Well, we think in this case here that there's not a developer knocking on the door that's needing that road. So if you're looking through the development lens, year 7's probably okay. So a lot of the development's happening really to the west of this road with Kirkdale, and all the activity is happening around this area of Rotatuna at the moment.
I know from
Connecting the road is more about connectivity, because the big issue that we have there, if you recall our 10-year debate, was that Moonlight Drive is a rat run. So traffic are going down Borman Road and it's not connected, so they're going down past our CEO's house on
That's most of the residents asking. You have to go around a big circle to go back to go on Gordonton Road.
Yep. So we have it in our 10-year plan, and that'll be a great road to link up along with Borman Road to the west on K Road, which we're working on, because then we'll have our major arterial east and west all connected.
Right. Thank you, Chris.
Councillor Mallett.
Thank you. Just a numbers one, Chris. Again, going back to clause 3 of the recommendation, we talk about the tender amount is 2.1 million excluding GST, comprised of the tender amount, which is what the contractor would have submitted, I assume, and the contingency. But then over on your financial status, it says the budget of $2.183 million. Where does the 83? There's $83 million that you. Sorry, $83,000 that's unaccounted for. So there's some other cost that's not there.
No. So what we are trying to say, that's the funding provision that's been set aside. 2183, if you look at paragraph 32.
Oh, so you're saying, at the moment this job is coming in $83,000 under budget?
Correct.
Okay, so that's, yeah, okay, is that right?
Sorry.
This
I better just correct Chris here.
Yeah. So that's for the physical works contract, so there are additional costs outside of that physical works contract for design and the project management overhead.
Okay, so there's some miscellaneous costs.
The $83,000 miscellaneous costs.
Covers that,
which is part of the project cost.
And so what would those sort of things be? What did you say?
Mainly the design costs and some of the construction supervision as well.
And they are typically in-house or out contracted for work?
Combination of using consultants and in-house resources.
Okay, thank you.
Other expenses, councillor Mallett?
Yes, I was going to say that, but I thought not.
All right, so we've completed questions. Okay, let's now move to the recommendation from management on page 111. I'm happy to move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Young. Any discussion on the recommendation, on the motion? Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Item 15 is the RATA contract. Stay in the seat, Chris.
So, Councillor, there was a second attachment that came by separate cover of the agreement with LAS that we're asking for approval to enter into. So, look, this is coming to council for approval to extend our current regional shared service and transport in the area of asset management. It's coming to council because this contract exceeds the delegation of the CEO because of the term of the contract. Look, from my perspective, it's been operating, or RATA, it's an asset management centre of excellence. It's been running for the last 2 years. It was being heavily subsidised by NZTA to initiate the collaboration. Look, it's been a very good collaboration for us, and it's delivering tangible benefits as well as intangible benefits. So there are direct cost savings for us that offset the cost of being as part of RATA, and they are things like data collection contracts and savings by having a bit of scale to go out for regional contracts. So there are monetary savings that balance the cost of being in RATA, but there's really significant intangible benefits as well in terms of having a centre of excellence and collaborating on quite technical matters in terms of building roads and renewing roads, being able to benchmark ourselves against the rest of the Waikato, having other councils come in and peer review what we're doing and challenging some of the decisions we're making, and vice versa, us challenging what they do. It leads to just good, robust, optimised decision making, I believe. our cost to join RATA is discounted a little bit because we've got a high level of skill in our infrastructure alliance, so we add a lot to the collaboration. We don't need some of the help that some of the other councils do, so as a result, we have the alliance. I don't know much about roads anymore, but the alliance is a really good model that we've entered into, and there's some really highly skilled people in the asset management and roading. So we don't need the people help, so our price is a little bit cheaper because we don't need the people we've got in the alliance. So look, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I recommend that we continue with this collaboration, and we're part of RATA.
Thanks, Chris. Councillor Mallett.
Thank you. Just on the top of the page, 115, we have that little box, financial status. There is budget allocated, but there's no figure in there, Chris. Can we get a figure?
Yeah, the figure is, the recommendation is 51,000. So this is all part of those, what was the term we talked about before, the other expenses. You know, it's our core costs in those.
They're all coming out of the woodwork now, aren't they?
But the other expenses are just our core costs of maintaining our road network. So it's our costs of our infrastructure alliance to do the potholes and do the thinking and do the asset management.
Sorry, Chris, can I just stop? You said $50,000. Where's, and you said it's in the recommendation.
So it's the recommendation. So sorry, it's for 2 years of it's $120,000.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And in the report, I think in the financial section, paragraph
The standalone
34. 34.
You're talking about the standalone report.
I'm talking about the report in the agenda.
Okay.
34. So page 118 of your agenda items, paragraph 34.
Oh, there it is, yeah, okay. Can I just ask, and I've asked this a couple of times, that summary box is quite useful for councillors when they've got 1 million pages of reports to read, and often, you know, comments like will be covered by other budgets, or there's a figure budgeted but there's no figure there, just leads to councillors having to spend a lot of time digging through other...
Fair point, councillor. It would have been more prudent for me to put in our full operations and maintenance budget in there.
Thank you.
Councillor Forsyth.
Oh, yes. I was just going to ask if we had any other models. And you did talk about the Infrastructure Alliance. That's what I was thinking about. And you've basically spoken to it, Chris, that the Infrastructure Alliance models has been a success for us, has it not?
Look, an opinion of one, but I think it's been hugely successful. I look, it's delivering great value. I struggle to think how we would be operating our transport network if we hadn't made that move. Remembering that we used to have 13 or 14 different contracts, all on the market at different times. This is consolidated into one united contract.
And this would be a similar kind of model, wouldn't it?
So this is a collaboration between our council roading teams.
Yeah.
So every council has its own roading team, and they then go out and contract to get the physical work done. So this is a collaboration between the thinkers and the decision makers in the various councils, and from that, the various councils will still go out and contract their physical works. But what this will lead is to better decision making about what to build. So it's about a collaboration in councils around the thinking space and the asset management space. We still then go out to the open market to get works built, but it's what we build basically.
So there wouldn't... I understood from this that it would mean that there would be economies of scale if you're going to be working and collaborating as you know, more than one council, that you'd be able to...
So the economies of scale are more in asset management, and as an example, we have 9 or 10 local authorities that go out and get traffic counting information, and we have what we call high-speed data collection, and that's where a truck drives over your road and it's measuring roughness and rutting and a whole lot of technical things that help you in your modelling for your networks and when you intervene and when you do work. So the collaboration comes from having one data collection model for the for the whole region. So we'll have one contract and one sort of firm going out and collecting all the data and analysing it and giving it back to us. So the collaboration's more at the thinking asset management level. It doesn't preclude, and I expect over time, it will identify a lot of physical works collaborative opportunities as well. So through the Centre of Excellence, I think it will identify those opportunities. And I think some of the smaller councils are finding those already. It's bringing them together and doing some joint contracting. But we look, unashamedly, we're quite a leader in this space with our alliance, and Waikato have gone to the same model as us. And I think they'll be, they pinched our project managers, so they'll be in the same space as us.
Does this mean that with that cross-council collaboration and teamwork, I suppose, does that mean that you'd have some sort of uniformity over specifications? Because of my understanding, you get one council that has one set of road species and then another council has another. So would there be that sort of alignment too?
Absolutely. Just remembering in the transport space, we've got a lot of alignment already because of the New Zealand Transport Agency. Because they're a co-funder, they drive a lot of alignment on things as opposed to water. But absolutely, that's exactly what's happening through this RATA in terms of asset valuations and lives of assets. So all of that work is happening, and the RATA is just a great vehicle to do that and have people actually working on that. RATA, we're looking to have a regional technical specification which covers, roading, water, parks and whatever, but RATA will now pull together all the transport inputs into that. So absolutely, that's a big part of it, is alignment of a whole lot of standards. And
okay,
stuff.
cool, thanks.
Your Worship.
Now, I'm looking at the agreement, page 9, composition, roles and composition. I'm just interested to know why the political advisory group contains people who aren't elected people.
Yes, I'm not sure of the voting constitution of that, but I guess NZTA are part of that because of their co-investment.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm more interested in the chief executive of LAS, nominated by the LAS board, and the LAS board chief executive. Because I have to say, if you look at page 32, it's a very involved grouping for a structure, and I'm just wondering, why are you having a political advisory group when it isn't really one? And if you are going to have one, why is it not made up of the appropriate people?
The only answer I have to that is it's operating in accordance with how the mayoral forum set it up over the last 2 years, so it's replicating how it's operating at the moment with the extension of the LAS chief executive, I think.
Yeah, so it began in infancy and has defined its role and purpose as it's gone along, and its value. So the purpose of this is now to say, right, it's working, it's good, and we should lock it in. I don't believe that portion B is appropriate or accurate for what it's supposed to do. So I do have a query about that, and I couldn't support it if this was the way it was put forward. And I just, the other point I had was the business plan is approved by LAS, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so where does the, where does that filter through in terms of approval from elected people? Because the LAS board is made up of chief executives of the councils, it's not made up of, then they're all through all of these layers. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sort of seems a bit odd.
Yep. I guess my only answer to that, look, it's a very technical collaboration, and it's a technical accord. So, you know, that it's work that we do at an operational level in each of the councils, and it's a collaboration at a very technical level.
Yeah, no, I get all that. That's why the technical group and all the, yeah, I get all that. So I'm just surprised at the structure of governance for its permanent establishment, because I don't think it's appropriate.
Yeah.
So that's my comment on it. And
So
I
Blair is...
I don't know what visibility has been had or what input we've had, but this is the first time I guess we've seen it, is it? So
Could I...
those are my comments.
Could I just ask Blair to just repeat what he just said to me, but might be helpful?
So once this comes into LAS, the statement of intent of LAS, which comes to the CCO subcommittee, would be the vehicle upon which each council can understand the activities of the RATA model as part of the various activities of LAS. And so that's the forum on which the councils can engage back in terms of the various activities that LAS is undertaking, one of which would be RATA. So that is the mechanism that comes formally to each council.
Yes, no, I understand that. That's about councils having some accountability line to a CCO. I get that, but I'm talking about the model that's been put forward for this RATA isn't... Well, if you set up a political advisory group, it's because you need people who sit in that framework to give the advice, because there's one called the advisory group and there's one called the technical advisory group. Get all that? I just... It's not a political advisory group, I guess I'm saying. So I don't know. I don't know where that was discussed or where it came from, or what input we've had on it. I haven't. That's my comments.
Okay.
Yep.
Councillor Gallagher.
I think the Mayor, Her Worship's questions, I have the same type of questions, and I get the mayoral forum as a sort of decision-making body has moved to recommend an evolution of the structure, but the structure, to be honest, is confusing to me, because just explain to me, Chris, if you would, as an elected member of the board of a constituent council, right, what is the flow through of reporting and reportage? Now, this is not absolutely getting into your kitchen, trust me, but it is the dining room next door. And I'm just trying to work through the model, because, like, for example, if you have another activity, there's a clear, like, through our current CCO, you have the airport company or whatever reports easy, you know what I mean? Statement of intent, clear, concise. And when the airport company rocks up, you know we delegate under our current structure, the CCO committee to grill them, go through the statement of intent, all of that. So it's a very clear link. This one I'm just trying to work out, and things like the infrastructure alliance, which is us, and you know I get that through, but this one I'm a little bit confused around that governance intersection.
So again, LAS is accountable to our CCO subcommittee and reports. Sorry? The LAS company reports to the CCO subcommittee, right. And so the activities of LAS again. And if you look at the most recent report that came to CCO subcommittee, it covered the various activities of which there are a range would include this. So, for example, LAS has a shared valuation database system across all councils. That's reported in its report to the CCO subcommittee. And I would envisage exactly the same type of reporting for RATA through LAS to the CCO subcommittee.
So am I using the wrong word if I said in a governance sense RATA is a subsidiary of?
RATA is an activity which the LAS company undertakes. It's not a subsidiary. It's an activity of which certain councils in the region have chosen to join up, and they have come together on a series of contracts under and administered by LAS on our behalf. So LAS is a legal entity of which a number of shared activities occur, and they can be contracted through that entity.
I think just further to Councillor Gallagher's point is, but the LAS board is made up of chief executives of the councils, and they are peppered through the structure. So that's interesting. and a political advisory group to give advice in respect of political aspirations and expectations of Rata. I think that's been sort of coming through the mayoral forum, but now it's going to be going over, rightly so. It's been good. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't sort of work, and it's not appropriate now. And the reporting line from LAS through, yep, it's an activity of LAS, but I was more interested in who's approving what and making sure that it's being done. And you're saying, well, the LAS board oversees that, but the LAS board members are chief executives of the council.
So there is a LAS meeting on the 10th of June, so this feedback from today will be taken back to that meeting. I think, back to Chris's earlier point, the activities of RATA are very technical in their nature. Certainly one, the political advisory group and the role of that group and the name of that group may not necessarily be appropriate. So I think that needs to be considered by LAS. The nature of this is coming together, the member councils, to conduct some very technical activities to improve the standard of data and how we conduct
just our normal
operational transport methods. Quite different from strategic delivery of road networks at this stage.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it also impacts, I think I read somewhere here, on asset management plans. I read that somewhere in here, didn't I?
Only in that area of collaboration and alignment of standards and valuation lives or maintenance intervention strategies. So it's at a very technical level. Okay. It might be that RATA identifies opportunities for collaboration through its process, and they may have to come back to councils depending what the collaboration is. But if it's just a collaborative contracting to get cheaper prices, it's pretty operational.
Okay, well, anyway, that's my feedback.
So we will, as Blair said, we can take that to the 10th of June last board meeting for a discussion on the role of that political advisory group.
I suppose it just raises another question, that board is sort of not independent because the board members are the chief executive, so it's not a separate set of eyes looking at it objectively.
Yeah, I think again, just tying back to Chris's, you do have the likes of NZTA there bringing that level of independence and thinking. But certainly, Mayor Haraka, I think you've raised some valid points.
Just through the chair, and wanting to be absolutely constructive, of course, and no problem with, I think, with the recommendation, but it just seems to me what we want is perhaps you come back to us with the sort of feedback of how this may evolve. I think the worship's raised some points and how they, and whether there may be some requirements or not, I don't know.
Martin, you're a bit hard to hear when
Sorry.
Okay, Councillor O'Leary.
Just checking, so has RATA reported into the CCO subcommittee previously? They have, okay.
not independently.
Not
through LAS.
Through LAS, yeah.
The activity of RATA comes up through the strategic roundup report through S&P committee because it's been an activity
I get that.
led by the mayoral forum to date.
I just thought, that's the opportunity to dig a little bit further, so that gives me comfort that we at least have some visibility from the political wing. Yeah, thanks.
All right, if there are no further questions, let's put the recommendation.
I'm wondering, Mr. Chair, if we could perhaps have, because I think there's some questions which require some clarification or feedback, all right? And I wonder if we could just put the
we report back or something.
And staff report back on the points raised in the meeting, all right? Now, I know that's a bit of a broad brush, but it's a tagline.
So you'd like an action point for the next finance meeting?
group at the 10th.
at appropriate time, that's all.
Perhaps a councillor briefing might cover a few issues.
Sure.
The LAS is bigger than just Rata. There's a few things that go on.
Probably
LAS,
quite
perhaps,
useful.
Yeah,
So just to test
to
that,
do an
councillors,
update
would
on less.
something like an additional recommendation resolution, request the Chief Executive to raise the role of the political advisory group at the 10th of June LAS board meeting and report back to
Yep.
council.
Great.
So that will be a replacement for B then?
I think we want to keep B.
I'd
Well, I want to see the final form, because this is a multi-party agreement that requires a number of councils to be satisfied about the structure, because it's coming out, it was an idea out of the mayoral forum, it's worked really well, it's coming out of that now, it's going to be standalone and it's going to get, it's going to be very valuable. I think setting up the structure correctly from day one is useful.
Just talking to Chris, the 1 July date is the challenge in that all councils are heading towards a 1 July implementation date. So just thinking through the practicalities of that.
So you could report back to the next council meeting.
Yeah, we can certainly report back to the June council meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess it's about reporting back. So isn't it that the chief executive is to provide this council's feedback to the next LAS board meeting in respect of the political advisory group's role in the structure? Yeah. And provide an agreement for approval to this council prior to 1 July 2016, and then he can choose where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any problem with C, because, I mean, we're in this and it's good. It's just a sort of structure. And it might be because the whole LAS structure needs some looking at as well, so. I'm happy with that. I'll move that.
I'll second that.
Thank you, councillor Gallagher.
Sorry, could we just please have clarification on the revised wording that was added?
Oh, I didn't write it down. What have you got so far?
Well, the last thing that we had was an additional one, which was the chief executive is to raise the role of the political advisory group with LAS at the 10th of June meeting and report back.
Yep, and report back to this council before 1 July 2016. That'll do.
And that replaces B.
That replaces B. And C remains as it is.
C remains and A remains.
I'm sort of not even sure whether there's one needed, I guess, is the point, really.
Sorry?
Is one even needed?
One what, sorry?
A political advisory.
Well, that's,
I guess
you know,
we'll go back and test
that's
that.
the point you're raising.
It looks token, to be frank.
Yeah, I understand.
So that was moved by Her Worship and seconded by councillor Gallagher. Do you want to wait for it to come up on the board? Thank you.
It's the role and the membership. It's the role and the membership, because my first point was, you know, if it's in a political advisory, it should be made up of elected people. Yeah.
So do you want
I
it to
don't
report
know.
back to council or to this committee?
I don't, it'll be up to,
It'll be
It'll be up to
council,
the-
probably. I don't think there is another
Whatever's
finance
the
meeting.
appropriate governance.
Wherever
and
he can report
Timeliness, yeah, sorry, Your Worship. From a timeline, whatever's the appropriate committee, as long as it's coming back to the colleagues.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? Right, there's no discussion. Those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 16 is the information system key activity update, and that's on page 120.
Through the chair, if I can just introduce Charles. Charles is our acting CIO since Eon Hall left. So Charles has been working with Hamilton City Council in different roles with other councils, and he's on a contract basis with us while we recruit for the replacement. So Charles has been here coming up to 3 months.
Welcome, Charles.
Good afternoon.
Right, we'll take the report as read. Are there any questions, Your Worship?
I think it's a question for the CE, and it relates to the council voting board update and other matters associated with us, which is the chief executive here?
You just naffed off.
It's now
didn't
the
you?
standard chief executive. Yes, no. Because of course added to the list now is the PowerPoint projector that doesn't work in the committee room, because we had that experience. And what else did we, this isn't an IT matter, but it's the heating or air conditioning or lack thereof in this room as well. But that's not quite an IT matter. So my question is, that says it's key projects, note the word key.
Yes.
Key projects in progress. What progress is being made on that? Because we've sort of got an end date. of
So
30
the person
June.
to answer that question is the...
Because it's been key
CIO.
and been in progress for some time.
Yes, my understanding. So that has actually, I think, been round a couple of times in the last 6 months. We've just recently kicked it back off. We are just reviewing all the material that has been learned around those requirements and reviewing the validity of them. We have a report coming through presently in the next week, I believe, and we will take it up with the General Manager of Corporate Services and Democracy to make sure that it meets the requirements that we have documented.
Right. And you'll see, I guess, the customer, which is us, you'll seek some input about stuff, won't you? Although we have given voluminous input.
Right.
Because the that's got a delivery, it's got to be sorted and ready to go this financial year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to meet that time frame.
We're targeting to get it up and running before the end of July. It'll
Yes.
take that while. The initial scope had a lot of requirements in it that were difficult to find a solution. So to progress this forward, we've had a look at what are the key components of the voting board and to make sure that we can deliver that by the end of July.
Okay, so that's good, because I would invite you to speak further to the customer if you do need to, because
Sure.
I think our requirements were pretty simple. For it to work was the first one.
Sure.
Yeah.
There
So
may
I just-
well be some compromise, so we will be back to have a discussion with you if there is compromise, to understand what some of the considerations are.
Yes, I think it was flexibility. It was simple, clear, flexible. Yeah, okay.
There are no simple, clear, flexible solutions out there, so we're trying to do our best to find some that achieve that.
All right. Now, look, the other question I wanted to ask, which possibly would be something that you would answer, David, and that is to do with the issues with the Info Council, which is an IT matter. I don't see it in here, but of course it causes lots of problems, and I think that's why we had to get a hard copy of one of these things, because it didn't get picked up. So this is the system that runs these.